Go ahead and present. Perfect. So I will share my screen. And then I'll present you, and then I will take off my screen share and then switch it to you, okay?
Okay.
And then right now I have about 68 participants. I will be letting them in. We start at 1:10, so about 1:08, I'll let people into the room.
Okay. So you did this morning. How did it go?
Good. The only issue we had was a lot of buffering, but I'm hoping that your internet connection is a little bit more stable. What I will do is if you have any issues where I see that you're buffering or you're freezing up, I'm going to text you. That way you can possibly maybe turn off the video if that might help, because that's what worked in the last 2 sessions. So you can still talk and do your presentation, just turn off your video, and then you might want to go back and just repeat what you had stated earlier. And then in the chat room, I'm going to post 2 links. I'm going to let everybody know the link for your presentation, and then that they're going to all be muted, and to please turn off their video so that it helps avoid any buffering while you're presenting. And then at the end, towards the end of your presentation, I'm going to send the feedback survey link that you provided in your slides.
Okay, awesome. On the charger.
And then I will text you 10 minutes before the time is up. So just to let you know, and then 5 minutes as well.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So Dennis, we've had a few cases where we hear that, the presenters,
So it sounds like you all are actually in the office right now. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, just because we weren't so sure that everybody would have a stable connection from home, and we have tech support here available as well.
That makes sense. Yeah. I don't know. It's very confusing to keep track of who is where at this point.
It's like, is it daylight? Is it Monday?
Yeah. Yeah. My mother said something. She's like, we're going to visit your brother and the baby on Sunday. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I thought you were going to the month. She's like, it is the end of the month. Like, oh yeah, it is.
I'm still thinking it's January and that this is an entire hoax.
If only.
Right.
Oh,
I'm going to go ahead and start letting some people in.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Hello, welcome. We'll get started in about 2 minutes. You are all muted, but we will go ahead and be posting all of the links on the chat room. And if you have any questions, those will also be posted in the chat. Thank you.
Yeah, you're gonna have to go online if you don't have some difference, you're better off.
yeah, because it doesn't feel like it. It doesn't feel like it's here. All right, on to the next one. Are you online?
All right. Yeah. Okay, sounds good. All right. So So good afternoon. My name is Aranza. I will be your moderator today for this session. I'm here to support both you and the presenter. So if you have any questions or need help with Zoom interface, you can use the chat icon at the bottom of your screen, find my name, A. Perez, and send me a message directly. I will do my best to help you resolve any concerns. Now, I just want to go ahead and introduce our presenter, MaryAlison. Our presentation today is going to be called Dive into Google Basics. MaryAlison, I'll go ahead and share the screen with you.
All right, so let me go ahead and share my screen. All right. So the presentation URL is there at the bottom of that first slide, bit.ly/ARCO basics. And if you're new to Google, which you probably are in this session, make sure that you type that in with capital letters because it is case sensitive. And I recommend you save that link for later, but follow along with the presentation on the screen share right now because I will be going back and forth between the slides and Google Drive and docs and slides and such. All right. So my name is MaryAlison Weintraub. If you want to contact me later, you can reach me on Twitter at Miss W Teaches. My Gmail email address is the best one to reach me at because my district email does have a really, really strong filter and it's unlikely I would ever see it there. I'm a Google certified educator and I've done a lot of other tech trainings and certifications and done a lot of learning things on my own, but I know not everybody learns best that way. So congratulations on taking the step to be here and hopefully this is helpful for you. The first thing that I'm going to share is something that when I discovered it, my mind was just blown. These shortcuts make it so easy to create new documents in several of the different Google tools. You don't have to type drive.google.com. You don't have to go to the waffle, the little 9 squares at the top, and click on the icon you need. For several of them, you can just type .new after whatever the program is. So if you're creating a new Google Doc, docs.new. Creating a new Google Sheet, sheets.new, and so on. Those are the 7 that exist right now. So it doesn't exist for every Google tool, but they do exist for several of them. If you want to read the articles about them, they're linked at the bottom there. But that's super handy because you just open a new tab and type that shortcut to start your document. I know a lot of us are using Google Classroom with our students as our LMS or our learning management system. It's technically not an LMS, but it's free, so that's what a lot of us have access to and are using. If your students are using mobile devices, which could be very common this year if they're using devices that they have at home already, or if your school has tablets that they're distributing, you need to make sure if you're using Google Classroom for assignments that your students also download the apps for the other Google tools that you're using. So they need the Drive app, the Docs, the Slides, and the Sheets app if you're using those things. The other things that you probably would use a lot for Google Classroom are Google Drawings, but you can't do that on a tablet. You can view ones that are already created in the Google Drive app, but you can't actually edit and create drawings on a mobile device. And Google Forms does not have an app, but when you open up the link, it opens in whatever internet browser you have on your tablet or mobile device, so you can still do forms from a mobile device. So since this is Dive into Google Basics, I know some people might know a little bit about tech already. Some people might be brand new to technology because they have to do remote learning or some form of hybrid learning for this year. And in the spring, they were still using packets, but now they have to use technology. You might be sort of new because you jumped into technology in the spring with our emergency distance learning we had to do. So in case you don't know what these basic tools are, this is just sort of an overview. So Google Drive is cloud storage, right? It's storing all your things in this invisible storage center online. And it's basically your digital hard drive. That's how it gets the name Google Drive. Google Docs is a lot like Microsoft Word. If you're familiar to that, it's your word processor and your writing tool. And Google Slides is similar to Microsoft PowerPoint. It's a presentation tool. It's a lot more interactive. There are things that you can do in Docs that you can also do in Slides and vice versa. But for some things, one might be better than the other. So I am mostly going to focus on these three. I do have a few things I will share about Google Forms if and only if there's time at the end. But since I want to also hopefully have a little bit of Q&A time at the end, we might not get to that because it's not quite as basic. All right, so if you are new to using Google tools, you might not be sure what to do with them. So I just want to give you a little bit of a suggestion. Second, I'm going to change to full screen. All right, hopefully this is easier for people to see. All right, so if you are using Google tools, you can do so much more than just what's on this screen, but this is just a little bit of an idea. So if you are doing writing, you don't have to be an elementary teacher or an English teacher because you might teach history or science and they're doing a response and they have to write it. So you could have daily journaling, you might be doing paragraphs or essays, you might be describing things. If you teach younger grades, maybe they are describing a picture, 1 or 2 words. You might be commenting on their work. Group work is really great because you can share documents among people and you can have them shared with your whole class if you really want that, or you can share them with just a small group of students to create small groups like you would in a physical classroom. So it allows you to do collaborative work. There's something called the version history that shows you who has done the editing on that document. So if it's a group assignment, you can find out if student A did all the work, even though there were 4 students in the group. And you can do interactive assignments. So some people might call these digital worksheets, but even though that's a low DOK level, it's still a good place to start if you're brand new with tech. You can create text boxes and pictures that students drag and drop. You can have them highlight text or draw lines between things. You can put things on different slides and have them reorder them. There's lots of different ways to manipulate, especially in slides. Hyperdocs, there are entire sessions on that, but a hyperdoc is a Google Doc, sometimes people use Google Slides, that has hyperlinks or direct links to other websites, videos, articles, and questions and ways for students to respond directly in the hyperdoc, in the document they use. Communication ideas, you could use Google tools to create and store your lesson plans digitally instead of having a paper planner. You could also have a lesson document with digital learning that you share with your students daily or weekly that tells them what assignments they need to be working on. You could also share a document like that with parents, especially if you teach elementary grades. You could also create newsletters that you send out once a week or once a month, and just share the link to that as an easy way to communicate with all of the parents of your students. And then it allows for a lot of variety, especially at the K-6 level. Students might be used to doing centers or station rotations. At the secondary level, you might give them choice for a project where they do 3 of 8 options. So you can create choice boards or a station menu or whatever you want to call it to give students some variety with the assignments that they do. Okay. So I threw this in, a picture's worth 1,000 words. In this case, it's more like a visual example of Google is worth 1,000 words. So some of these slides will be more like a list that I refer back to of things that I'm hoping to share with you today. And if you are someone who doesn't remember everything orally really well, I recommend you take notes just because looking at a picture is only one step when it comes to learning Google tools. It really helps to actually manipulate it yourself. You could also open another tab and do what I'm explaining at the same time, if that's helpful. I know that's something I've done in a lot of tech trainings in the past. We'll start with Google Drive. This is where everything is stored. You access it from drive.google.com, or if you are on any Google page, you have your waffle in the top right corner, those 9 little dots. And you can go there as well. And if you don't know this, I'll show you when I switch to my Chrome browser in a second. You can actually manipulate the Google menu here and drag the things you use more often to the top. So in your drive, things to know about your drive, you have My Drive, which is your files, your stuff. And then if somebody has shared a drive with you, you might have shared drives right here. And then you also have Shared with Me. One of the things that I like to tell people new to using Google Drive is that Shared with Me is a lot like a digital junk drawer. Everybody has that junk drawer in their kitchen or somewhere with all sorts of random stuff in it. This is like a digital junk drawer because every single document that people have shared with you through Google is there forever. But you can't sort it, you can't put it into folders, you can't color code it. So all you can do is sort by keywords, and it looks really messy. And it's best to just leave it alone because it's there forever. You can't really do a lot with it. So in Google Drive, you have a few options. There's a button on the left that I'll show you when I switch to Google Chrome in a second. And it says +, new. And you can choose to create a new folder, to do a file or folder upload, or to check. And then after you upload, after you upload those documents, you check the formatting. All right. And then these are the other things that I will show you in Drive, how to organize your documents. So you can rename folders, even if they're already created, as long as they belong to you. You can color code your folders, and you can star documents to save them to your starred drive, essentially. It's like a separate folder. And I'm using my personal drive today, mainly because it's messy, unlike my work drive. And so it's not cute and color coded, and it's a good way to show you where it all looks the same. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize that and open up my drive. Okay. So if I wasn't already here in a new tab, I could open a new tab, type in drive.google.com, or I could click on the waffle on the right-hand side here. Notice Drive is here. If I click on it, I can move it. I can make it my very first icon if I want to. If I never used Drive, I could bury it down lower if I wanted to. It's up to you what you keep up top. So back to Drive. The new button right here is what I was talking about on the slides. You click that and you get these options. So folder creates a brand new folder with nothing in it. So I could call that our co-example folder right now, and it creates a folder. And if I scroll down, I'll find it. Look right there. Okay. If I want to color code this, I can right click. I have this option, change color. They're all automatically this lovely gray color. So I want it to be green. Now, if I click away, you can see that it is bright green. If I change my mind, I'm reorganizing, I have a bunch of green folders and I decide this doesn't match, I can still change it. Tomorrow, I've decided to reorganize my drive a little bit differently, and I decided to make it this blue velvet color. If you're colorblind, unfortunately, that trick will not help you very much, but hopefully that will help some people. So again, if I right click on it, this is also where you get the renaming option. So if I decide later on that I need a better name for this, I can change the name of my folder. And maybe I want to call it Arco Google Camp. Okay, and then I just save that and it automatically changes the name. Okay, so these are all folders. So you can see I have a lot of things in my personal drive that are not very organized. Untitled Document. Uh-oh, what is that? So I could open it up, find out what it is. Okay, I could rename it from here, or I can open it up, find out what it is. Genuinely have no idea right now what I'm opening. Looks like a table of nothing. So I could delete this, or I could click up here where it says Untitled Document if it's something I actually want to save. And maybe I call it blank chart because it's something that will be useful later. But saving things as untitled document will definitely make your drive cluttered. So I'm much better at that in my work drive and make sure everything has a name. So if you open up a new document, it's untitled, and you have to make sure you title it. It'll ask you, especially if you're sharing it, if you still want to do that without a title. But just saving it to your drive is automatic. So if you don't change the title, it'll just be untitled. Okay. So over here, back to this, file upload is if you want to add one document. So this is if you're somebody that has PDFs on your computer or Microsoft Word documents, PowerPoints, Excel documents that you want to be able to continue using just through Google. So you would click File Upload if you want to add one file at a time. If you have a folder, you can upload the entire folder at one time. If your folders are big, it does have a maximum size, both for file and folder upload. I don't remember off the top of my head what it is, but for example, a large PowerPoint will be too big, and you'll have to, for example, save it as 2 separate PowerPoints and then upload. This is also one way you can create new documents, sheets, slides, etc. But again, the .new shortcut is a lifesaver, because to go to Google Drive and then click New and then click Google Docs, it's a couple extra clicks I can save myself, and I don't need to do that. Okay, so let me just see. Hold on a second. Let me reshare. Sorry about that. There we go. All right. Looks like it's slow. Having buffering issues like before. Okay, there we go.
Do you want to try taking your video off, MaryAlison?
Let me do that really quick. Just a second. Stop video. All right, let's see if this hopefully moves faster. All right. So after you upload, if you have a Word document or a PowerPoint, you want to make sure you check the formatting before you send it to someone or sign it through Google Classroom. If you're somebody who has a lot of charts, a lot of clip art, a lot of cute fonts, it's all going to get a little wonky looking when you upload it, especially with fonts, because Google does not have the same fonts as you might have downloaded to your computer. So you might need to change some things. If you upload a PDF, that's fine. You can use that, save it in your drive, and use that in Google Classroom if that's what you're using. But just remember that a PDF is not editable, so you would need to use an extra add-on or extension in order to do something with that PDF. All right. So docs and slides, I'm going to sort of go over together because they share a lot of similar features, and some are exactly the same and some are just a teeny tiny bit different. So sharing settings is super important. I know that with one of the tech apprentices I worked with at my school site in the spring, that was a really big challenge for her to remember week to week how to change the share permissions and get the link that anybody could view. Because if you are in a Google district, a G Suite for Education district, the automatic settings are set that only people within your district can view your links. So when you share, you have to change it to anyone with the link can view. Editing rights, that's also in the sharing settings, and that's who can actually edit your document. So you can share a document that's view only, or you can share it so that people have edit rights and can make changes. Again, this This session is not Google Classroom specific, so this is just about document use in general. So for example, if I create a chart for the first week of school activities and I want to share it with the other teachers at my school, I would use the sharing settings. If I wanted them to just see it, I would want to make sure it was view only. But if I wanted the other teachers to be able to collaborate and work with me, I would want to make sure I gave them edit privileges on that document. Insert image is really great, whether it is for an activity or making a slide lesson in advance. One of the easiest assignments I think there is that would work for primary students is you have them insert images that match vocabulary or spelling words. For older students, you have them insert an image and describe what they see in that image to work on visual and descriptive language, for example. You could have them insert an image for a research project, right? They might be researching animals, or they might be researching how climate change is affecting the country, and they can insert an image for what they're working on. Adding hyperlinks. So hyperlink, if you don't know what that is a link directly within your document. You click on the words and it shows you the link to go straight there. You don't have to put the whole long www.url in a text box for people to copy. There is a quick comment feature within both docs and slides that is super helpful for giving feedback and working collaboratively. So students are working together, they can comment on it as they're working on it, and they can reply to each other's comments. If students are turning in work to you in this format, they can submit an essay, for example, and you can use the comments to give them suggestions as they go before they submit their final work. Version history allows you to see who has worked on that document and when they have worked on that document, and it is color coded. So that is really helpful for group work, for collaboration, to know who exactly participated. If you're trying to figure out what's going on with somebody, it might be really helpful when you realize that they're doing all of their work at 2 a.m. and somebody else is doing all of their work at 8 a.m. And so they're not working on it at the same time. You can see those timestamps. This obviously is a little bit different now that we're all, for the most part, working from home and teaching from afar. But you can see, depending on the situation, that the student is not the one that did the work. Obviously, time's a little bit different right now. We have students that are up at all hours. Before distance learning hit, most students went to bed at a reasonable time. So in the middle of the night, if there was some editing, it was probably not the student, and you could have a conversation about that. But one thing that's really obvious is if the student adds a collaborator that is not you, or that is not one of their coworkers, and the address, the email address, is not even within your district domain, that's sort of a red flag. And if that address is then making changes on that document, that would be something you definitely would want to address with the student and parent. The Explore tool is an awesome tool that lets you basically do a Google search right within your document or your slide. Voice typing is a great tool for younger students who just don't have the typing and reading skills quite yet, and also for our special ed students and our English learners. That is something that looks a little bit different between docs and slides, and I'll show you the difference. But docs, it's for the whole document. In slides, it's just for the speaker notes. You can't use the voice typing for the slide itself. Google Docs has a translate feature. So this is awesome for your new English learners that you have. If they're, brand new and trying to figure out what's going on, you can have them do whatever your assignment is in their native language, and then you can translate it, and vice versa. For slides, again, it's not perfect. There are add-ons, but it's not a built-in feature. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to my Chrome browser and show you these. I might go back to the slide a couple times to make sure I don't forget any of these things. All right, so you can see right here, I did the docs.new shortcut and it opens up a new untitled document. I'm going to do the same thing to show you with slides. And you can see it auto-populated that I've used that before. All right, so here is my brand new Google Doc, and I'm going to share some of these features so that you know where to find them. If you want to just listen to my voice and open up a new tab so that you can play with it yourself, go for it. Sometimes actually playing with the tools is a lot more helpful for some people. So in your Google Doc, in the top right corner, there's this blue share button. Click on the share button, and then this is where I mentioned earlier, it's untitled. It wants me to name it. So I'll just go ahead and name it ARCO example doc and save that new title and then share. Now you'll notice that because I'm in my personal account, I don't have as many settings here. I can change to anyone with the link. If you're in your school account, then you have a setting that's anyone with the link as well as anyone in the district with the link, I believe, something like that. So you have to look, but there's 3 or 4 choices when you're in your work account. But what you want to do, even if you're in your work account for a lot of documents, is change to anyone with the link. Because if you are sending a document out to, for example, your students' parents, on Remind or Seesaw or Dojo or whatever platform you use, or in an email, you need it to be anyone with the link. Because if you choose the setting that's anyone within your organization can view, the parents will only be able to view it if they happen to also be a teacher or an aide or some other position within the district, because they don't have district email addresses. So anyone with the link if you're sharing it outside of your district. If you're sharing it just with, your coworkers, for example, you could change it to anyone within your organization. If you just want to share it with certain people, that's what this option is, share with people and groups. So I can start typing right now, and if I was sending it to Aranza and it remembered her email, it would populate right there. Okay, so it shows some people I've emailed recently, and I could say, okay, I want to share it with this person. Notify people is really important. It sends them an email that the document has been shared with them. And that's important because especially if you're not tech savvy, or especially right now where we might be inundated with documents, you don't want to have to check your shared with me folder in Drive every time somebody says, oh, I shared it with you. Didn't you get it? So if you make sure you notify them, they automatically are going to know that it's there and there's a link within that email. And then if you want to send them a message, hi, sharing this with you so we can collaborate, blah, 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 whatever you want it to say. If you're sharing it with an individual person, notice right here, it has on the right, 3 settings. Editor means if I share it with this person, he can edit the document just like I can. Commenter means he can leave comments on the document, sort of like feedback. Viewer means, I think it's just, a digital piece of paper he can look at. So make sure you're aware of which setting when you share documents with people. I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. So right here, I've changed it to anyone on the internet with this link. I've made a parent newsletter. I've made lessons for the week. I can click copy link, and then I can paste that into a message in whatever format I'm sharing it with parents. If it's something, for example, to collaborate with the whole staff on, and I choose anyone within the organization can view, copy the link, and then you can send it in an email. If you have like a staff email list, sending the link that way would be faster. If you don't have a staff email list, you could type up in the top box, share with people in groups, and just type in everybody's email. That's kind of up to you how you do that. Okay. All right, so that's sharing and editing. Next on my list, so insert image, it looks the same pretty much from docs or slides. Insert and then image, I'll show you in slides. insert, and then image. And then just really quickly to go backwards a step, if you are sharing and editing permissions and slides, same button in the top right, except it's that yellowish orange color to match the slides icon. So if I am inserting an image, I click here, I have lots of choices. If I have stuff saved to my computer, upload, okay, saved in my Drive or in my Google Photos this way. The one that you would use most commonly would be search the web, right? So say I'm doing a project on pollution. I can type the word pollution. I get all these pictures. And now it's creating my image. I've just dragged it from here. Okay, I don't even need to right click it. I just click it and drag over to my document or my slide. I can resize it. I can move it. Okay, so you can do a lot of things just with images, whether it's research, whether it's describing something, whether it's matching to spelling or vocabulary words or unit concepts. Okay, hyperlinks. All right, so this presentation goes here. Okay, so if I want to put a hyperlink, I can copy my link from another website, or if I know what the link is, I can just type it in. So I can right click if I want to, and there's a link option here. Okay, so if I highlight my word and right click on it, the link, it sort of looks like that chain link fence icon. So you click on link and it gives you a box to paste or type your link in. So if I know my presentation, I can put it there and I can apply it, and you can see it turned blue and it's now a link. When I click it, I have the link to go to that presentation. I don't have to type the entire URL in the document. You can also insert a link from going to the Tools menu bar, Insert, and then scroll down and you have a link option there. Okay, comments. This is a really great shortcut that is available in your toolbar. So it's this, it sort of looks, if you're looking at yours right now, it sort of looks like a cartoon speech bubble with a plus sign in the middle of it. So it's gray with a white plus sign. And it looks the same in docs and in slides. And you just click on it and it lets you type a comment on the side of the work. Okay. You can also highlight a word and then click on it so that your comment goes with the exact word or sentence or paragraph. And then that's highlighted and connected to it. So here is my comment and I can click comment and save the comment. Okay. If you're going through and editing, you can click the check mark to resolve a comment and make it disappear. If you have multiple people sharing a document, then you'll get a reply button and you can actually reply to each other within the comments. All right, version history. So if I go to File on my document, and if you've heard anybody ever say revision history, that's the same thing. And Google, sometime in the past year or two, changed the name of it. So revision history is the same thing as version history. It's just a different name, okay? So I can name it. So if I want to know the student's progress on day 1 versus day 5, I can on day 1 save a copy of their document, right? I can say name current version, and then on day 5, I can do it again and save their document then too. So file version history. The other option is at the top, it says last edit was seconds ago or last edit was yesterday at X time. If I go to this document, you can see last edit was 8 minutes ago. So I'm going to go to the slides one that I have pulled up and click on that so that you can see it shows you on the right when I have made changes and it's decided to color code me in this turquoise color. If I had other people shared on this presentation, they would be in different colors. Each person, it would have the timestamps for their changes. In slides, it will look like this, where there's sort of a box around the work that you did. In Google Docs, and since I haven't really typed anything, it will be harder, but let me type something. it will show it on the words. So it highlights the words in that color. So if there was somebody else, their words, even if they were interspersed with my words, would be yellow or blue or whatever their assigned color was. All right, so the Explore tool is the one that I have next on the list. Okay, so let me leave here. Okay, so under the Tools menu, you have Explore. Okay, you also have that shortcut if you want to use it, okay, that way. So Explore is what allows you to literally explore the internet. It also will search your old documents, which is kind of cool if you want to do that. So let's just go back. I'm doing a report on climate change in California. And there I get internet results and I can do my research right here. I get image results. If I happen to have something in my drive already related to it, I can't imagine anything in my drive is related to it, but that's what it thinks is related, it would come up as well. So I can do that. You can just as easily open up a new tab, but depending on what you're doing, it might be really convenient to have it right within your document, especially if you are doing a live session for teaching and they already have the Zoom or the Meet or whatever open. It might be overwhelming to say and open another tab to do your research. They can just do it right within that same browser window. All right, so voice typing, I'll show you both in Docs and in Slides since it is slightly different. Let me close the Explore tool. Go ahead and delete this. So under Tools, I have this voice typing feature. You click on it, or the students click on it, and it types it. It won't always be perfect, but it is a really helpful feature. So I'm going to go ahead and show you an example by clicking on the microphone to show you how it works. Hi, my name is MaryAlison. I'm presenting for Riverside Google Camp today, period. All right, so I'm still talking. It's still remembering me. If I want it to finish, it's kind of like a stoplight. It's red, right? Click on it. Okay, now it's stopped. You can see all of that is now typed out. It's got little dots under it that it thinks maybe are things I'm not supposed to say. So, hi, my name is MaryAlison. It spelled it wrong because my name is spelled not so easy, but it got it right essentially what it is. I'm presenting for Riverside Google. This was camp, and it heard can't. So it really forces you to work on your enunciation, which could be really good for an English learner for practicing as well. All right, so I'm still talking and still remembering me. If I wanted to finish, it's kind of like a stoplight. It's red, right? So that's all what I said out loud. It's almost perfect. You might have noticed I said the word period, and it actually put in a period for me here. So in Google Slides, a little bit different. Let me move my bar there out of the way. Okay, so in Slides, you have voice notes. They're only for your speaker notes. So notice how it popped up here. That's why I had to move the little zoom bar over a little bit. And so now I can add voice notes to this bar. Hello, what's going on? I'm just practicing, question mark. All right, so you can see question mark, just like period, we'll type it, hello, what's going on? I'm just practicing. It got that one perfectly. So it just depends. It's not always going to be perfect, but it's a really great tool to use. And again, same place, the tools menu, whether you're in Docs or in Slides, but one only works in the presenter notes, not in the slide document itself. Okay, and then translation. Let me close the voice text. Okay, so translation is under Tools in Docs. It has Translate Document right here. So, hi, I want to write a report about dogs. Okay, so I'm going to translate that. Okay, give it a new title. So it automatically is translated copy of whatever your title is. Choose a language. So a lot of people here speak Spanish, so we'll choose Spanish just so you can see how easy and accurate it is. Translate that. It's going to open up my new document. All right, hola, quiero escribir un informe sobre perros. Well, is that what I typed? If you are not a Spanish speaker, then You might not know this, but yes, that is exactly what I typed. Okay, so you could go the opposite way too. This is my Spanish version because I have a student that's a new English learner, and so this is what they submit to me in Spanish. Well, I can see if they understood the concept and are learning what I'm doing by clicking Translate Document if I don't speak that language. So since it's already called translated copy, it's now going to be called translated copy of, and after the session, I'll need to clean my drive a little bit. But I'm just going to translate it back into English. So if I was a teacher that only spoke English, I could translate the student's language into English. And this would allow me to see, hello, I want to write a report on dogs. Okay, the student was able to choose their topic. They know what they're doing, even though there's that language barrier. Okay, unfortunately, if you look at Google Slides, it does not have that nice translation feature. So there are some add-ons that you can look up later if you want to translate. Some add-ons will translate your entire slide, everything you put on the slides. Some will only translate your speaker notes, so just make sure you check carefully for which one you're using. All right. So that's everything here. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and make this full screen again. For slides, if you want cute backgrounds and slide templates, lesson plan designs, these are hyperlinks to some different websites you can use. I used one of them for this. Okay, so we don't really have time for forms, which is kind of what I expected. Okay, if you have questions about those, you can ask me about it. There's a section in the feedback form. There's also a session on the Sched that is about forms that you could attend or look at the slides if it was earlier today. I don't remember what time it was. These are some resources for general learning. The G Suite Learning Center has basically, it's the support center. It has help pages for almost every concept under the sun within Google. The Google for Education Teacher Center is the modules for becoming a Google certified educator. And even if you don't want to take the test and become a certified educator, some of those modules would be really helpful for basic learning. There are tons and tons of Facebook groups for teachers if you are a social media user. Twitter, you can search by hashtags and find great resources a lot of times as well. Blogs that I have found a lot of great resources for include Alice Keeler, Eric Kurtz, and Casey Bell. You can look those up. And then the biggest tip I have is that Google is your friend. You can Google the answers to so many things. And YouTube also has a ton of videos. If you Google something, a lot of times a YouTube video will pop up. So that can be very helpful if you're learning, because then you get that visual that you might need. So I want to make sure we have a little bit of time for Q&A. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my screen share in a second. This is the feedback link. If you want to give me feedback for this session, there's also a section where you can ask me a question and I will try my best to get back to you by next week. I'm going to go ahead and open up the chat so that I can see what is in it right now and stop my screen share. But I would love to answer questions about what I've just covered, because I know that might have been a little bit fast for some people, or if there's something I didn't cover that's still pretty basic, maybe we can go back to it. So if you have questions, go ahead and type them in. I will do my best to answer them in our last few minutes. But thank you so much, and I really hope this helped you get started with some basics as you prepare for a year of brand new challenges for all of us. You're welcome. Thanks for joining me. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them in our last couple of minutes. Do you need an app for Google Meet on tablets? You know what? That would be a question for somebody that's presenting about Google Meet, because I actually, even though I use a ton of Google products, do not use Meet. My district uses a live browser program called WebEx. So that would be a question for somebody else, unfortunately. Could you show the slide that shows where you find the backgrounds? So those are, let me see if I can share really quickly. Those are linked in the presentation. If you scroll up in the chat, you have the bit.ly link to the presentation. But let me go back to that really quickly. So this one. So Slides Mania, Slides Carnival, Slides Go, Slides Gala. There's a few others that are lesser known. And that's where I got these ocean-themed slides that I used for the presentation today, since I gave it a cutesy name of Dive In to Google Basics. But you can find tons that are formal, that are education-based. Slides Mania has some really great ones that are like a file cabinet or like folders for the days of the week that would work really well. I used one of them in the spring for distance learning for organizing things for your students and parents. And some of them are just fun for presentations or projects or creating lessons for your own students. Let's go ahead and stop share again. Okay. I'm glad you liked the speech to type. I only learned about that last year, and I was so excited when I learned about that. So hopefully it helps you as well, especially right now if you are a teacher with English learners or the little bitty babies who are struggling to use technology at home with parents right now. Okay. Okay. Could you also insert a hyperlink without having that link, searching for it? Yes. You'd have to open up another tab and search for whatever it was in another tab and then copy the hyperlink. If you open up the insert link, there's not a search option, but you could open another tab to search and find a link and then insert it. Okay, so play with it. Yes, that is definitely the best part, and the most important part is to spend some time playing with it. So I agree with that. Will the document translate all or part of the documents? So if you are using Google Docs specifically, that translation tool will translate the whole document. If you are using Google Slides, it does not have a translate tool, but there are several add-ons. Some work better than others, so you just have to play with it and decide what you prefer. And for Google Slides, some of the add-ons will only translate what you have in those speaker notes at the bottom, and some will translate the slide text itself. So you have to make sure you read the description on the different ones. Voice typing is not showing up under tools on your doc. It's hard for me to troubleshoot without knowing what you have or don't have, but perhaps you could check with your district IT people to see why, because I don't know why it wouldn't be appearing, because it should be under the tools option, whether you're in a personal account or a district account. That shouldn't matter. Okay. Middle school band teacher, can you please give me a few platform recommendations that you think would be powerful or complementary with middle school music? I would definitely look into Flipgrid, because the students can record. So if you're having them play instruments and practice at home, they can record for you. You can set it so that other students can see and respond, or you can set it so it's moderated and only you can see their responses. So that would be really helpful for you. What else would be really good for music? If you are teaching music skills, maybe you use Quizlet or Quizzes, which are quiz and flashcard sites, to teach them the music terms and have them learn that way. You could have them use Google tools in general, do Docs, Slides, Google Forms, to explain musical concepts. How can you tell if it's mine or someone else's document or folder, because I cannot rename or change the color? Okay, so if it's yours, it's in your drive. If it's someone else's, it's in shared with me. So on the left side of your drive, it says either my drive or shared with me. If it's under shared with me, think of it as your junk drawer and just leave it alone. You can find it when you need it. Okay, if it's something you are going to make your own, you can make a copy of it, and that copy will then become part of your own drive. But you can't do much to what's in your shared with me, and it's really just a mess. And if you use Google Classroom, just know that every single document your students have assigned to them will be in your shared with me. So you might have, if you have 67 students in 2 classes, You might have 67 documents from that morning's class as your recent documents and the top of your shared with me. You can't organize those at all, and you don't want to delete those because it deletes them from the students also. So you just have to learn to leave it alone. And if you're really into organization or you're really type A, you just have to somehow, blow past that and leave it alone, which I know can be a challenge for some people.
MaryAlison, I hate to interrupt you. I just wanted to let everybody know that it's now time for us to be ending the session, but to also remind them to please go on to SketUp and submit feedback as to the session or any other sessions that they did attend today, but to also use the link that I provided in the chat so that they can go ahead and provide some feedback to you as well. Or if there's any questions that we didn't get to today, you might be able to help them out.
Yes, thank you all for joining me, and I hope this helps you get started.
Yes, thank you so much, everybody.